Hello and welcome to the Shepherd's Rest Doc Talk. This is episode 21A.
I'm Cam and this is Julie. So this week's Torah portion is from Genesis 32:3 to 36:43. Basically the whole chapter of 36. There are a few things to cover this week. Major events in this week's portion. We have, of course, Jacob, who will be renamed Israel after wrestling with the Lord. We have the meeting with Esau. Mm-hmm. We have Dinah, the daughter, and the events at Shekem. Mm-hmm. And then we have the genealogy given of Esau, and the death of Isaac, which is kind of a lot, you know. Oh, and then the death of Rachel, we can't forget that.
Is that in this one?
Yeah, that's all in this one.
Oh, wow.
You know.
Yes, lots to cover.
Lots to cover. Straight out of the gate, we have Jacob, and we see that he sees the two sets of the angels, right, in the two camps. And then we see he's preparing to go and meet Esau. Now remember, last week's Torah portion, Esau said that he was going to basically let Jacob slide until Isaac dies, and then he was going to kill him. So you have Esau who's coming to meet them, and Jacob thinks, okay, I need this to look official. You know, I need to look bigger. Wildlife and fishery people say if you see a wildcat, to make yourself seem as big as you can to scare it away. That's kind of here what Jacob's about to go see the cougar, and he's going to make himself look as big as he can. So he separates his flocks into 3 flocks, and he says, okay, flock 1, go. Flock 2, go. Flock 3. So you have Esau who's coming, and he comes across all these flocks and herds, and whose are these? Oh, these are Jacob's. And they say they're your servant Jacob's. Huh. So he's going, there's another set. Well, whose are these? Your servant Jacob. Wow. The third set. Whose are these? Your servant Jacob. Each time, these herds and flocks were to be given to to Esau. These were gifts. What was Esau so upset about when he didn't get the blessing? It was over the stuff. He's like, can't you give me something, Dad? Can't you give me something? He wanted the stuff. Whereas Jacob wanted the future promise. He wanted the land. He wanted the promise of Abraham, the eternal, where Esau, again with the flesh, wants it now. What Jacob does is Jacob takes the now, takes the earthly things, all these, the abundance. That would have come with the blessing. That did come with the blessing also. To have an abundance as the Lord is providing for him. He's giving this to Esau.
You know, I love the symbolism of what you said about him taking the earthly and saying, here, you can just take the earthly. It reminds me of Yeshua when he said, if they ask, just give it to them. You know, almost like this isn't about here and now and your stuff. Right. Don't fight over stuff. It doesn't matter. It's better to lose that thing and save face than it is to lose a treasure in heaven.
Right, yeah. Finally, we have Esau and we have Jacob meeting each other. So they come up, they see each other, and it says that they embraced and they wept. Over the word, he kissed him in Hebrew, there are dots in the Hebrew, which the sages say represent teeth. That at that moment is when Jacob realized Esau is still...
This is a fake kiss.
Yeah, this is not... You know, if you think about that, where else do we see a kiss? We see a kiss of betrayal. Mm-hmm. Judas marked Yeshua as the one to be killed. So is it possible with 400 men around that Esau kissed and marked Jacob? Because we know that Esau's family, Edom, the Edomites, their whole thing throughout the rest of history is to kill the Jews. Is to kill Israel. Yeah, even today. Is to kill Israel. So is it a case that Esau marked Jacob for death? Mm-hmm. And therefore all those who saw, that's the one we're supposed to be after. Mm-hmm. Because it's after this that Esau is like, oh, well, come on to Seir with us, which is outside of the land that Jacob's promised. Mm-hmm. So basically he just got back. Now let's leave again. Jacob goes, No, yeah. You know what? I've got the little ones. Now remember, he keeps the flocks that are younger, so he doesn't give everything to Esau. He gives that mass abundance to Esau. It's just his family and some workers and some servants.
Right.
It's not hundreds of people. I mean, he's got 11 sons, which is quite important because what this proves is all 11 sons were born outside the land, except for Benjamin.
Yes.
Everyone else is born outside the land. We don't really understand the age. Reuben, during the Mandrake Love Apples incident, was probably 5 or 6 years old. Well, then we have Leah having 2 more children after that. 3 more, excuse me, because she has Dinah. And then we also have Rachel having Joseph. So the 7 years is up when Joseph is born. So the question is Joseph actually the youngest? Or was Joseph born at the end of that 7 years and the other children were born, Dinah and the other were born just after, because they stayed in the land 6 more years. As old as he could be, because there's 6 years extra Jacob worked, and then they were married for 7, but it takes obviously practically a year, right?
Right.
So 12 years old, maybe 13, but 12 or 13. That's your oldest child. Then we have Joseph, who was born. So Joseph is about 6. He could be anywhere from 7 to 6 years old. So they are really moving slowly, and that's one of the things that Jacob uses as you go on to Syria. I'm going to have to move slower because of the little ones, and I'm keeping all the nursing sheep and goats, right?
Right.
Esau wants to leave some of his men with him.
It's funny how it all looks so legit, for lack of a better word.
Yeah,
It all looks like Esau's being the kind one.
Right.
When it's all manipulation and tactics.
How can I get you, manipulating how I can get you into the position I need you in.
And now I'm going to leave these here so they can
help
relay
you
to me what's going on, so I can control you.
And of course, Jacob's no thank you. And so he has them leave, and he moves his way. But you notice he goes straight to Shekem, or actually he goes to Sukkot, which is outside of Shekem, and he sets up house there, and he builds a house. He builds sukkahs. He builds booths for his animals.
Yeah.
Okay. And then he buys land in Shekem. Obviously, he's not planning on going to see her.
Yeah.
He's not planning on it. In 34, we have Dinah at the event in Shekem. This is a life-changing event for Levi and Simeon.
Yes.
And
Eternal
it affects not just those two, but their
generations.
Their eternal offspring are affected by this.
Yes.
So, in a nutshell, what happens is Dinah goes out, and it says that she goes out to the daughters in 34:1. It says, and Dinah, the daughter of Leah, whom she had bore to Jacob, went out to see the daughters of the land. And the sages say that she went out to see, and she went out to be seen. Mm-hmm. She's in the wrong place.
She was a teenager going out.
Wrong place, wrong time. Now, let's think about Shekem. This is not a city like hundreds and thousands of people. We know that because in the next lines of what happens, they're taking the women and the children, and they kill all the men. Now, really? You think that 2 boys are going to do that with hundreds of thousands of people? No. Mm-mm. These are family. These are tribal situations. Israel has the tribal of 11 boys and a daughter, right? And then you have Shekem and his son, and they have some families, uncles and cousins that, right? They all live together. That's what their tribe is. That's what their city of Shekem is, okay? So Dinah goes out, and she's basically captured and raped. And we assume that she's raped by the fact that it says that he humbled her. So the boy's in love with Dinah. Oh, I love her. I gotta have her, right? Please, Daddy, give me what I want. So when they come and the brothers are like, okay, well, you have to be circumcised. That is a sign of a covenant, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So basically, they're saying, hey, as long as you go into the sign of the covenant, then we're good. Now, that was never their intention. Their intention is, how are we going to get our sister back? Mm-hmm. That was the goal. Because let's say this, they have her. If they say no, we will not, fine. They're just going to keep the daughter.
Right.
And now you have 11 boys, young boys, they have to go fight all these men to get their daughter back. That's not going to happen.
Right.
So we need to get them weak. We have where just 2 sons, Levi and Simeon, go in. They go in and they get their sister, but they also kill everyone. I mean, they're like, no, which is a bad thing. But at the same time, how the Lord uses that, because they are Canaanites, and you cannot have the promise with the curse together.
Right.
Can't do it. So had they married and shared their daughters, and remember, the father of Shekem, he's the one that says, hey guys at the gate, listen, we're going to get all their riches. Don't worry, we're going to get all their riches. And then they're going to marry. Basically, we're going to absorb them. So don't worry about it. We'll get circumcised now for an eternal blessing. But that eternal blessing had nothing to do with the relationship with the living God. It had to do with earthly. And how many times do we see religion like that? I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this covenant. I'm going to take this religious identity so I can be blessed.
Yeah.
But no real commitment with who that covenant's supposed to be with. And then they go and they do what? They take everybody. They take the women and the children. You can just leave women and children all by themselves with no one to provide for?
Mm-hmm.
Jacob brings them in, and he moves with them. But it never does it say that he violated them, that he was wrong to them. He provided for them. His children, his 2 boys, who the others plundered, but the 2 boys, I think that was probably their own idea to do that. Because Jacob was like, oh my gosh, once again, I appear to be a deceiver. What did y'all do?
Right.
You know, all we needed to do was get our daughter back, and then that was all. It's now time for him to fulfill the commitment he made when he left, and he's called to go back to Bethel. And before they do that, he says, let's stop here at the tree and get rid of all of our idols. So this is where, if Rachel still had those teraphim, she got rid of them. And it talks about the women taking their earrings out.
Mm-hmm.
So what it tells you is these are probably some of the women that came over that they have little gods.
Yeah.
Right?
They have ears.
Yeah, they have they've got to get rid of all their idols. And isn't that what we see in Exodus 19 on Mount Sinai?
Same thing.
Get rid of all your idols. Take a bath. Change your garments. And that's the same thing Jacob does. And it's the same thing that we should do today, even before we go before the Lord. Change our garments spiritually. Stop and say what? Confess our sins. Stop and really be able to go, all right, Lord, I need my heart right so it's clearer for you to write on. That's our job, to keep it clean so that it can be written on. There's an important thing that runs through the last 3 Torah portions, or last 2 in this one, and that is the difference between deceit and outwitting. We're told to be as gentle as a dove, but as wise as a serpent. Isn't that basically what we see Jacob doing so many times? He's as wise. He's like, Esau is going to kill me. I'm not going to be stupid. I'm not going to go. But let's jump back to the wrestling with God, because obviously that's very important. Hosea 12 verses 2 through 5 talks about how Jacob, he had a hold of his brother's heel, and then he wrestled with the Lord.
Right.
And it's showing these things that he's overcome. And it talks about he overcame with the Lord as the Lord, wrestled with him. And I think that order is very interesting, because it's not Jacob wrestling with the Lord. Here it's the Lord now wrestling with Jacob. And I think in my head, molding him and removing the things that need to be removed. Right? This is a potter's hand.
Yes.
And in it, what is the end result? He changes Jacob's name, but his walk is changed.
Yes.
After wrestling, after not manipulating, but changing him around to what he needs him to be, the walk is different.
That is so true.
And was this a fun thing? No. He wasn't like, whoa, yeah, pulling this on. I mean, he was like, that hurts. My hip is messed up.
Yes.
According to the world.
Physical manifestation of a spiritual
It sure is.
truth.
Now, in 27 it says, so he asked him, what is your name? And he said, Jacob. Now, you want to pay attention to where you've heard things before. What is your name? Obviously, he knows his name. We've seen that with Isaac, who said, who are you? Mm-hmm. And Jacob said Esau. We also see it in 48:8, where Jacob has Ephraim and Manasseh, and he says, who are these? Mm-hmm. What are their names? These are all processes that happen when a blessing is going to be given. And that's what we have here.
Yes.
So the Lord, what is your name? Jacob. And he said, your name is no longer called Jacob. So it's no longer you the heel grabber, but Israel, because you have strived with God and with men and have overcome. The giving of that name is saying, okay, here it goes. I'm passing this down. Because he already promised him earlier, you know, the Abrahamic blessing. You have it. And now he's giving him this personal, look, I've created you to walk differently. And Israel, you'll see in the word that when Israel's used for Jacob, he's walking in the spiritual.
Yes.
And when he's in the flesh, he's called Jacob.
That's what
When it's called Jacob's trouble,
yeah.
Israel, we are functioning in the flesh.
Right.
And then you see other
We
times.
think Jacob's trouble is about Israel.
Yeah,
Only
yeah, well,
the land, and
right.
it will be centered there.
Absolutely.
It will be, but we're all going to feel it. Because judgment starts in the house of the Lord.
That's right. There's more to talk about because you have Rachel dying. You have a hint of Leah's death through her maiden. There's all kinds of things. But one last nugget I want to leave you with is we see that while Jacob is given the name Israel, he's going to be the Prince of Nations, right? He is promised, where kings will come from him. And we know this. Mm-hmm. Yet we don't see it yet. Right. He's got the 12 sons, but we don't see it yet. Yet in 36, what we see is all of Esau's line, and they're princes.
Yeah.
All these princes. Again, we have the same idea. Right. This is promised, but it's seen here. Isaac was promised to have children, right?
Yes.
And yet, Ishmael's the one who immediately has 12.
Yes.
Here, Israel's going to be of nations, and kings are going to come from him. And here, immediately, you have Esau with prince. Right. It's over and over and over. So I think, that's just something to think about and hold on to.
Yes.
Thanks for joining us. Hope you have a great week.
Shalom.